and lecturer and guard. And I will guarantee you that at least 30% of the workers there and at least 30% of the guests there were always African American because that's the demographic there. They were treated as well as anybody. Well,
why did she say that growing up on the South Side, she was one of those kids herself and uncomfortable in the museum? She's lying. So who is she telling to be uncomfortable in museums? Why is she promulgating this big lie?
I'm going to do her the favor of not telling you about what it was like to be white in Hyde Park in 1968 to 78, because I'll tell you what, we were not the winners and we were not in charge of anything. We weren't in charge.
All right, well, we can leave it at that. Yeah, we know the game here. She's stirring up hatred towards white people with the big lie that's coming out of the lowest universities about white privilege, which is nonsense. It's an invention. It's a construct of the left. White privilege. It has no meaning.
You're absolutely right.
Does that mean there's black privilege in Liberia? I mean, by the same token, does that mean there's Asian privilege in Japan? Maybe the Japanese should be uncomfortable in Japan, in their own country. Is that possible? Maybe the Japanese should be uncomfortable because of Japanese privilege in Tokyo. That they tend to we should be really uncomfortable in our own country. Yeah, we absolutely shouldn't really like ourselves and like what we've created in Japan. We should throw out our whole culture. See, this is the same mentality. Or how about Chinese privilege? Or you want to try Egyptian privilege? Maybe they should be uncomfortable for being Egyptians in Cairo. Nonsense, just nonsense. So what is she doing here? Tell me exactly what she's doing. Here's a second exit poll from England. Now it's tighter. Tories ahead, but much tighter. Conservative 284, Labour 263, Liberals 31, UKIP 2, Plaids 3, Green 1. Those are the parties. UKIP got 2 seats. See, I'm trying to tell you. See, if we had a parliamentary system here in America, I would have created the Nationalist Party. I'd have, if we had this number of seats, right? I know I would get 2 to 4 seats. We'd have seats, at the luncheon. We could express ourselves during debates in Parliament. We wouldn't have any power, but that's how a party begins. Here you have no power at all. The Tea Party represented a good swath of the American people, largely white, but including, of course, other races. We all know that. Peace-loving, patriotic Americans. They were smeared by the Congressional Black Caucus, by the unions, and by the media. And as a result, they were marginalized. They lost that power that they once had, but they still exist. Never forget that the, quote, Tea Party didn't go anywhere. It's just fractured, but they do represent a large percentage of the American voting public. They have no one to vote for. That's the problem. But if in this country we had a parliamentary system with 5, 6 parties, and Michael Savage created the Nationalist Party based on borders, language, culture, I would guess of 300 seats, I don't think we'd have 2 seats. Of 300 with the borders, language, culture message, probably closer to 10 to 15% of the seats would be ours in the first election. We'd move rapidly ahead because the people are starved for a nationalist presence in this nation, starved to counter the vermin that have dominated the media and dominated government for 30 years now. That's clear as a bell. WMAL, Jonathan, go ahead. You're on the Savage Nation.
Dr. Savage, it's quite obvious that Michelle Obama is perpetuating the victim mentality. I grew up in New York, spent my junior high school and high school years going to the museums, the Met, Museum of Natural History, and not once did I feel uncomfortable or any.
All right. And I assume that you're not a white man with white privilege.
I'm an American that happens to be black, and I don't know, maybe I was too naive to sense it, but I didn't feel.
You know what it is? I don't think you were sensitive enough to the racism you were experiencing.
I don't know, but
you probably weren't as sensitive as she was to the racism that was being forced upon you. That's crazy. What years did you grow up, Jonathan?
Excuse me?
What years did you grow up?
Well, I was born in '54, and I was in New York.
So you're closer to my generation. So it wasn't exactly a bed of roses. I didn't feel much racism as a kid. Did you?
No. I mean, I knew racism existed, but I don't know. I didn't go to school with a lot of white kids at first. Like in elementary school, But as I began to, to become more experienced, with different races and whatnot, we were just New Yorkers. We were just Americans.
See, that's the beauty of New York. People do rub shoulders with many races. They're used to it. They don't make a big deal of it. And then you get a demagogue comes along, and he tries to tell you we're all different. One has more than the other. You should envy the other man. And they make people uncomfortable with each other. This is very bad for the country. Jonathan, I use one simple story to talk about how life was not as bad as they make it when I grew up. As a white boy, I went to the Apollo Theater in Harlem to see an Alan Freed rock and roll show in the 1950s, if you could believe it, with a small group of white kids. We took the train up to Harlem. We went in there, and we all were just having a great time, white kids and black kids. I didn't say we all kissed each other and danced in the aisles. There was not one fight. Nobody got hurt. On the way out, everyone kept to themselves. There was no trouble in the city at that time.
Right. They had to take something like Martin Luther King being shot or watch riots or something for there to be a flare-up and, burning the city and all that. There was... I mean, you just
or I would go into all black jazz clubs in the Village, 2:00 in the morning. Again, I'd be the only white person there. No one, maybe they looked at me, but so what? They figured I liked the music. I wasn't there to bother anybody. This is what you do in a real city, in a cosmopolitan environment. But then you get these communists come into power, and the first thing you know is everyone's looking at each other and hating each other.
Right. Well, I think they're just playing on that victim mentality, so people can think they need to rise up and get what they were deprived of or whatever.
Wow. Well, that's bad for everybody, because let me tell you, when the guillotines start to fall, they don't stop with the people on the other side. They never end. The guillotine, as they say during the French Revolution, has an endless thirst for blood. My friend, I'm sending you my new novel, Countdown to Mecca, because we as Americans have a much bigger problem than race relations in America. The biggest problem on the planet is the tsunami of radical Islam that is threatening to flood all of us, submerge all of us, and kill all of us. And I ain't Jonah. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. It's the only company I trust to protect my wealth. Call 800-BUY-COIN. Well, that was Michael Savage with a big drum roll introducing the next topic. I have a set of Latin drums here that I keep next to the desk that I just played with a little drum roll. It wasn't as audible as we would have liked it, but I wanted to show that my youth was spent in infamy. And the results coming out of the UK right now are interesting. Headline Drudge, Cameron pulls off upset in UK but needs coalition. So the middle-of-the-road conservative Tory Cameron has apparently is winning. They lied, in other words, earlier. They did in England what they do here. They make you think that the Liberals are winning when they were losing. And now he's got to put together a coalition very similar to what happened in Israel with Netanyahu. He won, and then he spent a long time having to appease the smaller parties, which is what a parliamentary system is supposed to do. And that's what I was trying to tell you, is that if the Republicans won in the next election and they had to put together a coalition, and I had a party called the Nationalist Party, and we were a parliamentary system, they would have to get my votes to have me join them. And in order to do so, I would force them to crack down on illegal immigrants. I'd force them to do a lot of things to get my vote. That's what the parliamentary system is. And it's more representative than our monopoly. It's that simple. Just a little example of what's going on. Crisis in UK after closest vote in decades. Drama at polling stations. Conservatives win. Prediction, Cameron remains prime minister. Labour Conservatives tied at 34% in second poll results. And that's all on the Drudge Report. Feds collect a record $472 billion in taxes in just 1 month. Let me ask you something, where the taxes came from. From the members of the Occupy movement? From the gangs? From the illegal aliens? Where do you think the $500 billion that Obama just stole from the middle class came from? It came from you. You have to fund the rebuilding of Baltimore with the money. You have to pay for the medical care of illegal aliens. That's what you have to do with the money. Border braced for summer surge. More and more illegals are coming to the promised land to drink the milk and honey. Because, hey, if you're stupid enough to give it to them, wouldn't you come here as well? Appeals court rules NSA's collection of phone records not authorized by the Patriot Act. We covered that. And there's so many other stories. Don't miss the link to Michael Savage's story. Still up on the left of the Drudge Report. Obama will arm gangs for race war. See if you agree with me or disagree with me. And while you're at it, again, I have to do it because it's coming out on Monday. It'll be in the bookstores Monday. Countdown to Mecca is the most important of the trilogy of the novels that I've written. I'm the best-selling author of Abuse of Power in a Time for War. And this is the third in the series. It's probably more serious, more on target, and better written. And it's the last in the series. It's not that Jack Hatfield dies in the book, but I'm not writing them anymore. In fact, he's finished. 855-400-7282. Let's go to the callers. Josh on KKOB Radio. Welcome to the Savage Nation.
Hello, Dr. Savage. First of all, I want to say it's crazy that this Obama administration is trying to fuel a race war. And he's just making the African community have like a pity party. I'm a Hispanic male. I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, so I'm a minority. You know what I mean? I know how it is, and all I could say is we all have equal opportunity in America.
You want to talk about grievances? I mean, how about the Native American who had everything taken away from them?
Exactly.
You talk about grievances. So a Native American, if I were a Native American son born in this country, I could walk around on a reservation and say that my people had their dignity stolen, had their land stolen, and I could wind up just a loser. Or I could say, okay, that happened. I got to live in the modern world. I got to do live in the new way, and I would try to do the best I could. I take advantage of affirmative action. I go to the best schools I could, and I use affirmative action to get anywhere I wanted to go in this country. So the tools exist for a minority to get anywhere he wants to go as long as he's got the brains and the drive. It's nonsense to make believe that the tools don't exist. Okay, it's as simple as that. So you decide if you want to be enchained by Obama's lies or you want to be liberated by the truth. I'm Michael Savage. Be here or be nowhere.